The tide of the Ukrainian conflict is making a not really unexpected but still unfortunate turn for Kiev and the globalist forces that made a bet on it. The recent series of failures made the regime a lame duck in the eyes of its puppeteers and sponsors. This situation worsened because of the further increasing levels of corruption, incompetence, and a strengthening internal struggle for power within the top Ukrainian leadership. This is happening amid the looming threat of the painful defeat in Avdiivka. A large, heavily fortified Ukrainian stronghold on the outskirts of Donetsk is balancing on the edge of collapse. The Russian troops gnaw through Ukrainian defenses on the streets, taking the Ukrainian grouping into a cauldron. Russian warplanes are grinding Ukrainian positions with dozens of heavy bombs dropped every night. On the northern Donbas front lines, Russian troops entered the village of Belogorovka. As a result of heavy battles, they took control of the industrial zone and continue further assaults. In the southern Donetsk direction, the Ukrainian military lost control of the eastern part of Novomihailovka. At the same time, the Russian air defense forces are quite successfully fighting NATO-supplied drones and missiles. On the night of February 9th alone, 19 Ukrainian UAVs were intercepted in 5 Russian regions. Together with the failure of the summer counteroffensive that cost Kiev hundreds of NATO-supplied armored vehicles and more than 100,000 personnel, it becomes hard for Ukrainian public leaders to put a brave face on a sorry business. They prefer to blame whipping boys for the obvious failures and struggle against each other for the remains of what power they have. After weeks of speculation, Zelensky finally fired the commander-in-chief Zaluzhny, who was in charge for the summer counteroffensive and was heralded by the mainstream media all the previous year as the military leader that would allow Kiev to capture Crimea. Thanks to this, Zaluzhny got a lot of media attention and political points, but lost a notable part of the remaining military potential under his command. Permanent NATO support and supplies helped to avoid a total collapse, but were not able to change the trend. Battlefield and diplomatic conditions have reached the point when even key Western sponsors are publicly slowing down the flow of military supplies and financial support. Meanwhile, advocates of the Kiev regime in Washington took a hard hit in its media war. Despite all the efforts of Western diplomats and the mainstream media to put Moscow into an information blockade and ruin it with sanctions, today the whole world is listening to Putin. The White House called on Americans not to believe anything that the Russian president says in an interview with Tucker Carlson. Judging by the hysterical reaction of mainstream media and top Western officials, a single interview appeared to be enough to deliver a painful blow to Western propaganda. Attempts to create a fictional media reality around the ongoing developments put the construct of this reality at a disadvantage. In turn, seedlings of a new, honest, and mutually beneficial structure of international relations are pushing their way to life from the current crisis.